Hello, everybody. I'm kind of tired tonight and I refuse to put on makeup, so here I am. I haven't made videos in a while, partially because the last of my grandparents, my grandfather, my mom's dad, um, got sick. He started having all sorts of problems and age-related stuff, and it's a whole long story. I'm sure most of you over a certain age have certainly had to go through this with a parent or a grandparent, but um, I helped care for him. It was a lot of work. I don't regret a minute of it. I wish I had done more in retrospect. I wish I had spent a little more time at the nursing home with him. But, we all chipped in and did what we could do for him, try to help him transition into the next life. And he ended up in hospice, not hospice care at home, but we actually have a facility here. It's super, super, super nice. And he passed away there with his family all around him. My mom and I went to go pick my sister up from the airport, and he died while we were gone. But it was. We should all be so lucky to pass away that peacefully and with that many people who love us all around us. It's been hard. It's because it's not, of course, it's not just losing the person. We're having to. He had he had 200 acres and 3 houses on it, and they're all just full of stuff. And the big house, the big main house, is huge, and it's packed to the rafters and beyond. And so it's been very sad. We have to spend so much time out there, but sorting through and trying to figure out what we can part with and what we want to keep and what we want to sell. And it's a whole thing. I'm sure a lot of you know. But something kind of interesting happened, and you guys, you know that I'm sort of a mystic and pretty woo-woo as far as woo-woo goes. And I think it's been 14, 15 years since his wife, we called her Tootie, my grandma Tootie, since she passed. She was having strokes, and I think she was starting to have to wrestle with thoughts of her own mortality. And she told my mother once, when they were alone, that if she could come back as some kind of animal or as anything in the next life, that she wanted to come back as a bird, not just a bird, but a large bird like a hawk. Okay, so that made a lot of sense. She was very nature driven, and she loved birds and plants, and she was into all things natural. And after she died, one of the first times that we were down at the house, and you have to understand, he lived in this house that's, oh my gosh, it's a good half-hour drive from the nearest little tiny town, and part of it is 9 miles of dirt road, like rough dirt road, and some of it's one lane. We almost got smashed into the other day. Somebody came up over a hill and was driving right down the center of this little, like, 1.5 lane road. Nearly got creamed. But anyway, one of the first times we had been down there to visit him and care for him after she died, on the way out, my mother and I were driving in the car, and on the way out, this hawk swooped down right in front of our car, and just within a few feet over it and in front of us, and like led us down the road until the property ended, and then it turned around and went back. And we had that happen several times. I can think of 3 times that happened right after her death. And Grandpa reported not knowing about the hawk leading us off of the property, but right after she passed, and he got to a point where he was able to go back and start working outside again. He would go out using a chainsaw. He used a chainsaw until he was well into his 80s, out cutting down big trees and cutting up big trees that had fallen. And he reported to us that this hawk would show up when he'd come outside, and it would sit very near him on a very low branch, like the lowest branch, and just watch him. Like, as long as he was out there working, this hawk was out there watching him, and it would only go away when he went in. And this went on for quite some time. And Grandpa was a Christian, a Methodist, and I knew he wouldn't be into the woo-woo, but Mom and I both were like, ooh, that's kind of telling. And so when he was in hospice, the way it was set up was when you first come in, it's his room. His bed was right next to a window, a big window, and this was the upper story of a two-story building. And all behind the building was just some, I don't think it went very deep, but it was some beautiful sort of woods with big trees with vines growing all in them, just beautiful, lush vegetation. So it was almost like being up in a tree house, and that's the way it was at his house. The main part of the house was like up in the trees because it was built kind of, I forget what they're called, but it was built kind of into the hillside. So the bottom story, the basement story, was half in the ground. So you go up to the main floor and you're up high in the woods. And so I thought that was kind of neat. But he couldn't see. He was pretty out of it. They had him on a lot of morphine by then. But we certainly enjoyed looking out the windows. Coming right off of his little room was a room that had a counter with cupboards and a sink and a little mini fridge and a day bed and a chair or two, and it was for family. So that family could stay there all the time if they wanted to and just sleep there, right? So I was in that little room, and it had two of those windows facing the same direction. In reality, the windows in the family room and the windows in his room are probably only maybe 6 feet apart. Um, and I was sitting there in the family room one day, and I was looking out the window, and this hawk, this this beautiful hawk, came swooping down, and there wasn't a lot of room between the building and all this vegetation, but it came swooping right past his window and past the window in the family room. And while it was going, and I'm not going to try to imitate it because I honestly don't remember exactly what it sounded like, but it was, if you've ever heard a hawk cry or, make its call, it was doing that very loudly as it flew past the windows. And I was alone at the time, and I thought, ooh, interesting. And 2 hours later, he passed away. And, make of it what you will, but some of us more pagan minded people, really feel that that was Grandma coming to get him, or coming to sound the alert, or maybe excited because she was about to get reunited with him. And I thought it was kind of cool. I probably will never see a hawk interacting like that with me ever again. I assume that they've gone on now. They're doing their own thing now. So, anyway, if I ever see a hawk doing something like that again, I'm pretty positive that it's Grandma. I don't know how Grandpa will come back around. We'll see. Maybe he won't. I hope he's happy wherever he is. I hope heaven is exactly what he wanted it to be. So that's all, guys. Bye.